I'm your huckleberry.
This is the Smoking Guns Podcast.
Low G with a Z, P-O-D, and no RC. Oh, there she
we
is.
go. It's magic.
Smoking Guns
Goodbye.
Podcast here with you on a Tuesday, not a Monday night. Hey, we need more than 24 hours from game to show.
That's true.
We need that kind of time, and so we had to take an extra day. Game was late on Sunday night. It would be weird to roll from Sunday night right into Monday night and the show. So we took an extra night. I hope that didn't bother you too much. If it did, too bad. Sorry. We will refund your money unless you're a patron, and then we will. But everyone else will refund your money. Smoke Guns Podcast, we're a podcast that deals with football in San Antonio, specifically football around the San Antonio Gunslingers of the Indoor Football League. My name is Philip Higginbotham. I'm joined as always by Leo Yamas.
What's up, Smoking Guns Posse?
And R.C. Woods.
Mwah. Hello, beautiful people.
And we have struck out. The title of today's episode was a strikeout. Because that's three
and a whiff.
Yeah, that's three straight losses, three strikes, and you're out. And in many ways, I think that's true kind of the Gunslingers and for the season. I think it's three strikes and we're out. We'll talk more about the 53-49 loss to the San Diego Strike Force. Also, another reason why it was called Strikeout was Strike Force. We'll talk a little bit about that. First and foremost, what is with a Sunday night game? I've got to tell you, I was running some errands on Saturday, and it started to get later in the afternoon, and I started to be concerned about, I was like, the game is at 8. And then when I realized I was not going to make it home, I pulled up my IFL app while my wife was in her office doing something because we had to run out to her office. And then I was like, oh, it's tomorrow night. And so she gets in the car and she's like, okay, let's go. And I'm like, nah, it's cool. We can, you want to go to dinner or something? We can, she's like, oh, you don't need to watch the game? And I'm like, yeah, I'll watch it tomorrow night when it's on. But what is up with a Sunday night game? Did anybody else get messed up by a Sunday night game?
A little bit. Alex McSwain, who's on right now, I think he texted me earlier in the week and he's like, hey, are you going to make it? Oh, I think it was like Friday because he said you're going to make it to the watch party tomorrow. And I was like, I'm going to try. I knew we were going to have a family over for the weekend, so I wasn't sure. And I was like, but just so you know, it's Sunday, not tomorrow. So maybe I was helpful to Alex and kept him from showing up on the wrong day for the watch party. I don't know.
Show up at Sideliners, nobody's there. You're like, man, this watch party's going to stink, man.
They changed two things from Saturday to Sunday and then the time. So that really threw me off because Sunday night is my bowling league night. So that,
yeah, but were you able to bowl and still get home in time for the game? It was a late start, right?
I was tired after bowling 3 games. No way.
So you didn't watch the game? Is that what you're telling us?
I didn't watch it Sunday, put it that way.
Tired after bowling?
Hey,
have you bowled in the league? It's 3 games back to back.
We had a guy call in sick from work one day, and he actually was, I guess, honest. And to this day, we make jokes about it because he called in and said, I bowled last night, and now I'm really sore, so I can't go into work. So he didn't come into work because he was bowling. Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's an effort, but 3 games. We're there from 7 to 9:30. That's 3.5 hours of bowling.
Yeah, but it's not like you're bowling the whole time. You get up and you bowl, and then you go sit down for 10 minutes.
Well, I'll tell you this.
Get up to bowl again.
My team, it's an all-girls team. surprise there, were the dolls with balls. So in between throwing the balls, we're having party sessions. It's a party event there. So I'm just not sitting there twiddling my thumb. I'm
So you are-
engaging, I'm
You're not
dancing
bowling, you're partying.
and bowling.
Oh, let's talk a little bit about the football game itself. 53-49, San Antonio falls to the San Diego Strike Force. And one thing I have learned, I am just sure of, Leo, you and I were talking about this before we started the show, is we are not a good team in the second half, period. It just
No.
it is obvious to me that whatever is our problem resides after halftime.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't. We have been in the game at halftime all of the last 3 weeks, only to come out after the half. Honestly, this was kind of a carbon copy of the game from a week ago, where we were in control of it early. Had we just done what needed to be done, we would have won this thing in a walk. We had and possession of the ball early in the game. At that point, if you score with every possession, you win.
Right.
Right.
Had them where we wanted them. We had the exact situation you hope for.
We couldn't seal the deal, though. We couldn't seal the deal.
Yep. Second half, like you said, especially third quarter. Like third quarter is just abysmal.
Yeah. So what is that? I mean, look, I know there's going to be not a lot of people out there, but there are going to be people out there who are watching the game on Sunday night, and they're going to go, well, it's all Joaquin Collazo. He threw the interception that turned the whole game. And if you boil everything down into this microcosm of football, that was the turning point of the game. But Joaquin Collazo scored scored 5 touchdowns in the game through one interception. He was not your problem.
No, not at all.
He did have a fumble as well. There's things that needs to be cleaned up, but he's a rookie quarterback.
He's a rookie. Yeah.
And I say this all the time to since Collazo's been in there, and when people point out things, rookie quarterbacks, I don't care what their name is or what level they're playing at, rookie quarterbacks make rookie mistakes, and that is universal. It doesn't the level of talent, it doesn't matter. The first year is always going to be a learning year, and you're going to see some of this. And to have an interception and a forced fumble, give the defender some credit on that and stripping the ball. That stuff's going to happen. What you look at is all the other stuff, their body of work, and what you're saying, 5 touchdowns.
Right.
I am not down on Collazo at all.
Well, and let's be fair, on the fumble you keep referring to, it was not a lost fumble. He fumbled the ball, but we retained possession.
Forced fumble.
It did not matter that we retained possession, because by that point we were pinned back so far that we did not get the fourth down. But
forever.
When you say he fumbled, it was not a fumble lost. But
Right.
And I'm with you. You can't blame him. He's attempting to make something happen as protection is broke down around him. And again, that's not their fault. Those things happen from time to time. But that's when it happened, you sent me a text and said, hey, rookie players make rookie, decisions. Rookie things happen to rookie players.
Yep.
I haven't changed my mind about Joaquin Collazo at all.
Not at all.
I think he is your guy moving through the rest of this season and into next season. I have seen nothing that convinces me otherwise. He has honestly owned the San Diego Strike Force. We went 1-1 with him, but he threw 12 touchdowns against one team. That's impressive. He kind of had their number. And it was sure nice to see Kali Rashad back.
It was.
I am beginning to think Kali Rashad is the key to the whole offense.
Like, he comes in and he makes a difference, and they when they use him in the offense more, good things tend to happen. But I mean, really, I think the shortcoming this past game was, just some bad decisions and defense. Just giving up key possessions. Kevin Lewis just said it right here. Inability to adjust to the other team's second half adjustments all year long. Yep. 100% agree. It seems like, because the third quarter, I mean, it's hard to argue when the third quarter is such a problem. When you look at the numbers and you go back and look at the games, the third quarter always seems to be a big issue. And
I know.
what's happening just before that? You're at halftime and teams are making adjustments, and it seems like the other team are making the adjustments and we're struggling to counter.
Yeah, there's something missing during that halftime, because if that game had ended right before halftime, we would have won. We were winning. We're 24-20. We, showed a lot of effort, but I don't know what happened. Then a couple games back, there was one third quarter that we didn't even we didn't score at all. So
Right.
I do think that third quarter, I don't know what it is. We have to fix that.
Look, I hate to be that guy, and Leo, I guess you kind of waded into this first, but I've watched this game for a lot of my life. I've paid a lot of attention to football. And I will tell you that a team that plays well or plays close in the first half and then gets beat consistently in the second half is not good at making adjustments, because that's what happens in the first half. In the first half, you gather your team together and you go, okay, now we have data about how they're going to react, respond, and what their game plan is. Now we can build adjustments into our own game plan to combat or take advantage of the data we now have after playing them for 30 minutes. The teams that do that well come out in the second half and dominate, and the teams that do not do that well look bad in the second half. And we look bad in the second half.
Yes, we do.
So we are not making those adjustments based on the data that we have well.
Right. I agree.
That is just truth. I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus. I'm not blaming anybody. I really don't know who to blame. I don't know whose fault that is. It is just the abject truth that we are struggling with the adjustments that have to be. Look, every team, a team that is dominating in the first half goes back into the locker room and says, how can we dominate better in the second half? We know what they're doing now. We know what they want to do now. We have an idea of who we're playing in this moment today. How can we take even more advantage of what we've seen? Nobody goes into the locker room and says, it's going well, just keep it going. I don't believe that happens. I could be called out and said, hey, you don't know, you've never played. Some guys do go into the locker room and say, just do what we've been doing. But I don't think that happens a lot. I think it's a time to go, hey, how can we take advantage of what we're seeing in this moment, in real time?
Mm-hmm. Or, what might they do the second half to counter what we've been doing that we can change up? But yeah, no, I agree 100%. But I mean, it could be execution, and for some reason, execution is falling off in the second half. It's hard to point a finger when you're not down there in the locker room and on the field and knowing we don't know. But we're just saying it's very obvious, it's very apparent that there is a drop-off as far as the San Antonio Gunslingers' performance on the field in the second half, and particularly third quarters have been very rough. It could be a number of things, but something is not right or needs to be better.
Kevin Lewis saying 3rd and 1 is not a gotta make a play situation. If that breaks down, throw it away. The fumble wasn't a turnover, but it was. And he's right. It wasn't a turnover, but it was. And something else he said is 3rd and 1 is not a gotta make it play. 3rd and 1 in the indoor game is almost the open the playbook and do anything you want on 3rd and 1. This is how I feel, by the way, about second one. Second one in the outdoor game is open up the playbook and do anything you want to do. Whatever you want to try. You can do anything on 2nd and 1 in 11-man. And the same way, you can do anything you want on 3rd and 1 because you have enough, everybody does. Everybody has enough confidence in their team and their offense that I can get 1 yard. If I absolutely put my mind to it and put in the right play, we can get 1 yard. So I might take a long shot down toward the end zone, or I might run a jet sweep on 3rd and 1 or 2nd and 1 in 11-man. Like, you can open up the playbook and do anything. It is almost a free play because I know on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 in the indoor game, I can get the 1 yard. I'm not worried about that. I'm going to get the 1 yard when I put my mind to it. So this is a free down. I can do anything I want to do. And I don't think we play the game that way. I don't think we have that mentality on a 3rd and 1. And yeah, if you have to throw it away and move to 4th and 1, yeah, that's fine. That's okay. Agnes Huddle says we need more coaches to help out with our team. 3 coaches is not enough. This is a conversation that we eventually got to leave before the game or before the show tonight. Is what helps? More eyeballs, more coaching, more guys, more coaches helping. Not that we're saying there's anything wrong with Coach Fuller, Coach Johnson, Coach Bain. I like those 3 guys. I am perfectly happy with who those guys are. I just think that on game day, they need
more eyes.
Yeah, they would
benefit.
They would benefit with more hands. More hands make light work, and they need more hands and eyes and people. I think that's a good call. I think Agnes is 100% right. By the way, hi Agnes, good to see you.
Hi.
And while we have Agnes here, I don't know if Agnes is able to stay till the end of the show, so I'm gonna do it right now and just interject. Tyler Huddle probably, in my point of view, had the best game of his career so far. Like,
played very well.
He was excellent, and like, as far as rookie kickers go, I think Tyler Huddle has been excellent. I mean, he's been a blessing for this team.
I agree.
When he came on. So I want to make sure Agnes knows that that's how we feel, or I feel as a fan watching Tyler out there, just getting better and better, it seems. So
I agree.
Very excited about Tyler.
And he may not be watching live. I'm sure he's not, because he's probably got other things to do. But when Tyler was on the show a couple of weeks ago, we got to talking about pickups, because he's a truck guy and I'm a truck guy, and he's doing work on his truck. And I mentioned that I was going to be putting a new radio, a new head unit into mine. And I got that done last week. I installed it myself. I didn't get it done. I did it last week. And this is what it looks like. And you can see the Gunslinger logo there, and you can see my Gunslinger key fob, keychain there.
Very cool.
I know Tyler may not be watching live, but hopefully somebody will. I don't have his number. I meant to try to get his number from RC and say, hey, I want to send him a text of this, but I didn't get there. So there is the truck and the Gunslinger all over the place in my truck, because that's the way I roll. Tyler is exactly what we need. And I thought it was funny that the crew, which I got thoughts on the broadcast crew. I'm torn on the broadcast crew, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But I thought they did a great job with Tyler, except they seemed to think what he said was some sort, because they talked to him before the game. If you didn't watch the game, they talked to him before game and asked him if he was a big deuce guy, if he liked going for the deuce. And he's like, no, I traditionally, kick the squib along the ground, which is absolutely true. For those of us that watch Gunslinger football, that is true. Well, then he hits a deuce later in the game for reasons that I think we'll talk about here in a few minutes. He starts kicking at the deuce and he hits one, and they start going, he was playing possum with us a little bit. He was shining us on a little bit. No, he wasn't. It just, the game situation changed. And I think Bain and Coach Fuller said, hey, we're having a lot of trouble with kick coverage, which we were having a lot of trouble.
Oh, yeah.
With kick coverage. Let's try something new. And so he started kicking the high rainbow kick and got one of them through the uprights for a needed deuce at the time. So
Adjusted. That's what you have to do during a game. You adjust.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's a credit to Tyler that you can totally change the kicking game plan in the middle of the game, and he can go out and execute, whatever you ask of him. And he's one of those guys, I can tell just from watching him play and from the conversations we had of him that, he's gonna do whatever he can. You ask him to do this, he's gonna go out and work his hardest to try and be good at that thing that you ask him to do. And it doesn't matter when or how you bring it up. He's gonna, he's one of those guys that we've heard, if you ask him to run through a wall, he's gonna try and run through a wall for you.
Yeah,
exactly. He has a lot of talent, and it shows.
Alex McSwain saying, I haven't followed other kickers in the league, but it's probably a front runner for the IFL all-rookie team. If there is such a thing, I think that he is definitely a front runner for that.
And now let's nominate him.
Coach Q says, very good word to use, adjust. You missed it. We were talking about first half, halftime adjustments just before you popped on, Q. We were talking about our need to be better at making halftime adjustments because we're struggling with that. I think it's very clear over the last 3 weeks that is a deficiency that we have. And we don't know why necessarily, or we're not saying why, but we're saying it's clearly there.
Yep.
And we all agree that we need more coaches too, Q.
So we talked about things that they, that we think were contributing factors, or deficiencies in this game at least. We talked about the second half adjustments. We talked about the kickoff coverage because they gave up some huge returns that made short fields a short field for San Diego. The other thing that I pointed out was it seems like, and that hasn't just been the case in this game. We've seen it pop up a few times throughout, not always, but it's there from time to time. Goal to go situations in short yardage. So if it's goal to go from within the 5, it seems like it's really difficult for us to punch it in at times. And then we even joked about it. I think it was in the second half where we got a touchdown where Kali Rashad got called for an illegal block. And it moved the ball back, and we had already discussed that, and Philip in our text, and I said, Kali knew. He knew we needed more space. So he went and intentionally committed the penalty to give us more room, and then the very next play, we scored. We had more room, and we scored on a pass the very next play.
So if you watch Gunslinger's games on our home broadcast, on the broadcast that I'm on with Ralph, you know what I'm about to say. But as you get closer to the end zone, things get tighter. Windows get tighter because you have 16 guys all within, I don't know, what would you call 12 yards maybe?
It gets crowded.
Of each other. It gets very crowded in there. Windows get very tight. And I think, and again, it feels like I'm throwing coaches under the bus here, and maybe I am. I don't mean to. But I think that our goal line or our red zone or green zone or whatever you want to call it, offensive scheme is not right, not what it needs to be. It almost feels like it's the same. It almost feels to me like we're running the same. I don't think we are. That would be crazy. No coach is going to do that. But it feels like we're almost doing the same thing in that short area of the field that we would do in other areas of the field, and that there's no adjustment because of the situation. If that's the case, whatever the case is, like we need to adjust our goal line or red zone or green zone or whatever. I got really annoyed a few years ago with everybody wanting to call it the green zone instead of the red zone because it's a good place to be, not a bad place to be. A red zone is bad. No. But whatever you call it, I think our particular scheme needs some work because we struggle there and other teams don't as badly as we do.
Or the other flip side of the coin, they need to execute better, because I will say, and I thought to myself, I was like, how are you going to have first and goal from the 3-yard line or whatever it was and have a running back like Harper and not just run it, pound it in there, first down, second down, third down. But to be fair, there were times where where Harper got the ball and was just swarmed by a San Diego defense, which then in that case you would look at execution as far as the blocking from the line. So while I would say, yeah, there's an adjustment that needs to be made, and it could be in the scheme, it could also be execution.
I agree.
So
I just think, and again, I'm no coach. I don't know anything. The coaches would gladly tell me that if we dragged them on right now and I made this statement. But I feel like everywhere else on the field, you try to start your offensive plays at the line of scrimmage or beyond. There's not a lot of running in indoor football that really, it's not your go-to. 80% of your plays are getting the ball to a playmaker at the line of scrimmage or beyond. However, I feel like you almost at the 5-yard and in line need to flip that and say, no, we're going to get the ball to our playmakers trying to create some space, but we're going to get it to them behind the line of scrimmage and let them find their way. So whether that's a screen, I love this screen they run. We've done it a couple of times. I don't know why we don't do it a lot more often, but it is 2 guys in motion on the same side of the field, on either side of a trailer, a screen, where those guys are your blockers ultimately, and they're going to run anything in front of them up, and that guy is just tucking in behind them and running. And we've run it a couple of times. It looks really smooth when we run it and execute it well. And then using Kali Rashad and Keyshawn Harper and Joaquin Collazo, you can do all kinds of things through that backfield and then getting the ball to somebody in some space in the backfield and letting them make something happen. I don't know. Again, I'm not a coach. I'm just thinking through how you would have to adjust because of so many bodies in one area of the field. It's got to be difficult to try to find space with 16 guys in 12 yards worth of field. It just got to be tough.
Yeah, it's a tough job. I don't want it. We're talking about it because we're a fan show and we're talking about football and what we see, and but as far as do I want the responsibility to have to make those decisions? Heck no.
Mass Bandit of San Antonio, the team made mistakes, but I'd rather take a 4-point loss than a blowout.
Yeah, that's true.
They lost trying to win. Always a question for the ages. Would you rather lose close or get blown out?
I like seeing the effort.
They both suck.
I'd rather a close game.
Yeah.
They both suck, but you come out of a close loss, especially on the road to a good team, because San Diego's a good team.
Yeah.
You come out of there with some hope. You take some good things away. If you come out of there with a blowout loss, sometimes there's nothing good to take away from it.
Sure.
And right now, I think this team is in a building mode, building for 2026. And let's see what we got right now and what can work together. And, especially with Collazo and, some other guys. But, I certainly hope they realize, like we think they have, that they found their guy under center with Collazo.
Right.
But you need to see how he reacts in different situations. You need to get him snaps so he gets experience and learns how to deal with situations and show some improvement as these games go on, because that's a key thing. You want to see improvement. So I think they're in that mode right now. And you're gonna come with a lot more things to say on that positive side with a close loss than a blowout for sure.
That's
Sure.
true.
Mass Bandit also saying, I'm really sad we only have 3 home games left. I'm going to miss the July 19th game due to a family vacation, but the season went by way too fast. Mass Bandit is going to be in Port A. I saw this earlier today on Facebook. That That is darn near my neck of the woods. Mass Bandit. We are, I am about an hour and a half, not even an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes maybe away from Port A. Right up the coast from me. I drive through Port A when I go over to Corpus, and I have to do that about once a month. So, yeah, I'm surprised there's 3 games left. It feels like this point of the season we should only have 2. So I have to keep reminding myself that there are 3 left. There's the 5th, the 19th, and then the 26th. So we get 2 in a row there on the 19th and 26th to finish out the season.
Yeah. Still
and those are
to have fun.
Those are going to be a great time. No matter what the situation is, those are going to be a lot of fun, and everybody needs to continue to be involved, to be hooked in, and drive up from Port A and skip their family vacation if they need to. Just kidding. But not.
No, I'll tell you.
I missed the 19th also. I'm going to be in Chicago. I'm going to be going to a Cubs game.
I'm sorry, you put in that request to miss the game, and that wasn't approved. I don't know if you
You didn't get the memo on that?
I got the memo. I did not approve that time off request. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's not going to work.
Maybe I can hop on in Chicago, but we'll see.
Well, I was going to say to Mass Bandit, and I could say the same for you, RC. So don't take this as a slight, but I was going to say to the Mass Bandit, as much as you're going to miss that game on the 19th, I think the fans in the stands are going to be looking for you and missing you
true.
as as much as you're missing the game, man, because you've become part of that game experience. So I'm glad you're going to go and enjoy your family time. You definitely deserve that with as much work as you put into the things that you do for the local teams.
All of the teams.
The Gunslingers faithful are going to miss you on that game for sure.
I think that's absolutely true. RC, not so much. No, I'm just kidding.
What? What did I do?
I'll miss you down in the party zone, RC.
Thank you.
We talked some last week about how badly they needed to beat San Diego to keep any sort of hope alive. Leo?
Yes.
We didn't do it.
There's still
Oh, here we go.
a chance.
We're going there, huh?
The stars have to align and everything else.
Oh, man. You don't even know how true what you just said was, RC. But I got curious today, and so I pulled up the standings today, and I'm looking at them, and I'm going, okay, San Diego is now beyond us. And Vegas, we've lost both games to them. But in between San Diego and Vegas on the standings is Arizona. Arizona is 7-5. We are 3-9. If we win out for the rest of the season, we would be 7-9. And if Arizona loses out the rest of the season, they would be 7-9. And that would most likely be the 4th playoff spot. So, with tied records, how in the world do they determine who gets the playoff spot? So I thought,
has the better cheerleaders?
Who would? No, unfortunately, that is not the process at all.
Because we would win.
But I thought, who would know? Who would know the answer to this question? Well, it would be in the rule book. No. It is not in the rule book. The rule book, obviously, is much more involved with game day rules than league operations. And so it wasn't there. I read through. I did not find it in the rule book. So then I texted Ralph because Ralph knows everything.
Yeah.
So I texted Ralph, and Ralph said, no, I don't know. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Shocked.
So then I thought, who would know? Like, who's the definite person that would know?
The commissioner.
Yes, the commissioner would know. And I've never been afraid of sending an email to somebody. So I sent the email the commissioner an email. I sent it at 3:00 today. 3:03, as a matter of fact, is when I sent the commissioner of the Indoor Football League a very professionally worded, proper email. I didn't embarrass anybody.
Okay.
I just said, hey, I'm curious. What's the procedure? I drove home. I was at my office when I sent that email. I drove home, and by the time I got home, the commissioner of the Indoor Football League had already responded with the process. So it is not beyond me to say this guy's good. Like, I like this guy. We've worked with other. I was thinking about this later. Who was the commissioner of the AAL back in our AAL days? Do we even remember? I don't remember.
No, I don't remember.
There had to be somebody in charge of stuff, but I don't remember who that was.
That was the problem. Nobody was in charge.
Well, maybe so.
Well,
And then-
whoever was in charge, yeah, he dropped the ball quite a few times.
And then we met with and talked with Chris Siegfried a couple of times when we were in the NAL.
Right.
But I am just, every time I have an interaction with Todd Tryon, I am thoroughly impressed with the way the commissioner handles things. And the fact that he got back to me, I'm looking at timestamps right now. He got back to me within 13 minutes.
Wow. I thought you were going to say, he said, who's this? But no, he didn't.
No, in fact, he said, good to hear from you. Here you
Wow.
go. Thanks for your question. And here's what I found out, Leo, RC. Here's what I found out. Here's how the window
Here we go.
works.
Drum
Okay.
roll.
If we are 7-9 and Arizona is 7-9. By the way, for that to happen, don't forget we have to win every single game. And Arizona has to lose every single game. That's the only way this works. But if that were to happen, then the next line, the next issue would be head-to-head record versus opponents in the tie. Well, at that point, playing Arizona, we have lost to them once. But if we win out and they lose out, they will have we will have beat them once because we play them in our remaining schedule. So that means that is also tied 1-1. So then we have to go to letter C. Kevin O'Hanlon, by the way. I'm being told by multiple people. I did not ask about the Roku app. I am professional. Better
You
than
missed
that.
out on your opportunity.
You emailed him the next day about the Roku app.
That's tomorrow's email.
That's tomorrow.
Now that I'm thinking about it and you responded so quickly, where the heck is my Roku app?
There you go.
Line C on the tiebreakers. And this is where things start getting messy. Opponent's win percentage, otherwise known as your strength of schedule. Now, here's why that's messy. We can't figure that. I mean, we probably could. And there's probably somebody out there with an algorithm that could do that. I did not. And because there are so many games left unplayed, you would have to have multiple different timelines, scenarios on how that worked. So we can't really guess one way or the other on that. And then finally, D, line D, is the highest conference win percentage, which if we win out and Arizona loses out, San Antonio would have.
Also, I don't know if you looked at the schedule, but they play Green Bay Blizzard next.
Yes. That's their next game. Yes.
Yeah, and then after that, they only have, I think, 2 opponents the rest of the year in the remaining games. San Antonio
they play
and San Diego.
They play San Antonio and San Diego twice. That's correct.
So we got to be Blizzard fans, and then after that, San Diego should beat Arizona, right?
I could be a Blizzard fan.
The way they're playing.
I mean,
and if
they've won 5 straight, and Arizona is kind of faltering here late in the season. So
all I'm saying is that little crack of light that you're talking about, in my eyes, just got a tiny little bit bigger when you look at their schedule.
Yeah. I mean, that's yes, basically. Is it likely?
No.
Is it probable? No. But is it mathematically still possible?
Yes.
Right now, there is nothing saying that we are mathematically eliminated from playoff contention. We have work to do, and we have some praying or voodoo dolls to set up, or whatever, rubbing rabbits' feet, whatever you are, whatever you believe in, now is the time, because we have
Light the
to
candles.
rubbing the Buddha, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Because, Arizona. Alex McSwain said, if Tucson can beat Arizona twice, anybody can beat Arizona once. True, but San Diego has to beat them twice in that window that we're still talking. But it's there. Like, all I'm saying is it's very unlikely, but it's there. Like, there is still, we are not mathematically eliminated from anything yet.
Yep. Hold up, fat lady. You got to wait. You can't sing yet.
James Palmer says she's prepping to sing. She's gotten on stage. She's waiting in the wings, but she hasn't started singing yet. And that's the truth. What the coolest thing about this to me is not necessarily that the San Antonio Gunslingers still have a chance. I mean, that is what it is. Like, I like having a chance better than being mathematically eliminated.
True.
But the cool thing to me about this is that I was able to send a message out to the league, to the commissioner himself, and he was attentive enough to respond and get me the information so that I could pass it on to you guys here on the show. And I appreciate somebody who cares that much about a league that he's leading to help me get the information to you, when really I didn't do him any favors. I emailed him at 3:00 today. Our show is at 7. I emailed him at 3:00 today with, hey, I got a question. I could have thought of that question before 3:00 today. I just didn't.
Goes to him.
By the way, if you're curious, there are 2 more levels of tiebreakers. Highest conference win percentage, which, by the way, San Antonio would have. We would be at 6-5 if I did my math right, whereas they would be at 6-7 because we have different conference, different number of conference games we play, which would give us the higher win percentage in the conference. If we win out, they lose out. E is head-to-head point differential versus the opponent, which means if we would have been tied at that conference win percentage, we would have had to have beat them when we play them later this month or later in July by more than 8 points, because that was the victory that they had over us. And then finally, F is point differential for the season, which means total points scored minus the total points allowed. Just so that you know what the
That's
final.
too much math for me. My head's like boom.
Right?
I want to know at what point does it get to a coin flip, a coin toss?
Oh God!
And then
That's
if it
where I
gets to
come
that,
in?
then we need to get RC to come in.
There you go. Bring me in. Bring me in.
I thought you said a coin flip, not a coin, flutter.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, I don't know what would happen if you got all the way down to that last one, point differential for the season, to have tied in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other areas, and then do the math and find out that you have the same exact point differential for the season, which means you take your points scored and subtract the points you've allowed, and both of you have the same number. I think at that point, the space-time continuum just collapses on itself. I think existence ceases in that moment if that were to happen. Like, that is unbelievable. That would be unbelievable to me.
And if that happens, have them play again.
No. Why?
There's too many numbers. Just try to redo. Just do a redo.
I think it's very possible that the world, the existence just collapses into a wormhole. I think that's some sort of, like seeing a future version of yourself or something, and how it breaks down the entire space-time continuum at that point.
That's insane.
But there it is. Still a chance. So you're telling me there's a chance. nothing to do but win every game we have left, and that's all we can
Yeah.
control.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
And
That's
we
it.
should try to, I mean, we should have that mindset anyway. Like, even though like the numbers may not be perfect or in our favor, I mean, I see a good team gelling together. And I think we see that every game with Gayaso, with Huddle, with some of the players that are finally getting off the injured list. I see it. I really do see it.
That right there, RC, like that was one thing I say you gotta take into consideration what more than any year and before the Gunslingers having to deal with as injuries. And
Yes.
so the good thing is having this bye week right now where guys can get healthy and start to feel a little bit, get their bodies right for the home stretch of the season. If you just go to goifl.com and go to the website and look at the transaction page and go down it and look how many times you see the Gunslingers logo and a player going to IR.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely ridiculous. It's unprecedented for this team in any other year. I'm certain of it.
Well, I know like Laura, the masseuse that does the sports, that's my godson's mom. If she heard this, she would be saying it's all about conditioning. And I don't know, because in the past, I did see that we did have a sponsor, I think it was called Crico, where they would go into this like little chamber. Are they still doing that? Because I know a lot of therapists, physical therapists, massage therapists would say, injuries, you can go back to conditioning and things like that.
Cryo. It's called
Cryo.
cryo, I believe.
Do you think they're still doing that? Because maybe they should go back to that if they
I don't know.
did that this year.
I can't tell you a lot of anything about sports conditioning. I know, but obviously, I run this
I thought
body.
you were the expert in conditioning.
I run this body at prime. I don't need any conditioning.
Wasn't it last week that you had abs?
Yeah, those went away fast.
That was last week. Yeah.
Yeah,
There you go.
I took off that shirt and boom, they were gone. Just like that.
Somebody needs to call that little old lady and get her down to Gunslinger Nation to get down there and do the sana colita de rana on our players. Because
Yep, for sure. I'm going to say something. James Palmer says, I think we need to get Megan on and ask her some of those questions. We've never had Megan on here.
We should have Megan.
We should.
Dude, I was impressed with Megan. I was sitting there watching the game live next to Lolis, and I looked at her and I was like, did you just see that? Megan just ran off to the side and jumped. She leaped over the wall. I was like, I know I couldn't do it. And Lolis was like, yeah, I saw it too. She's like, I couldn't do that. And I was like, holy moly.
There was a moment, that first win in Bay Area, there's a great video that Robert Seco put together. And if you remember, in that game, that's where DJ Myers got injured. He was run headfirst into the wall, right in front of the Gunslinger bench. And there's a moment on Robert Seco's video where Megan jumps over the wall. She looks like a freaking superhero, jumping over that wall and down to DJ in that moment. I have been impressed all year long by our training staff and specifically by Megan. And there was a game in our building where she was just right on top of things almost immediately. I think it was the last game with Clifton Duck was coming up a little lame. So, yeah, speaking of DJ, he's a free agent again. I did see that he got he got released in Bay Area, and I even have talked to somebody who talked to him, and apparently he requested that because they're just in a different spot than he is. They've got some younger guys, and he's looking to catch on somewhere where he's got a better opportunity for himself. So I don't blame him at all.
Wish him the best. Yeah, wish him the best wherever he goes.
James Palmer says we need Gunslinger candles.
Hey, I'll light one.
Speaking of injuries, again, for the second week in a row, I'm holding my breath as Clifton Duck goes down, and it doesn't look good And I bring that up because it brings up two things. One that I don't want to forget to mention, but I mean, I was holding my breath, and again, we see him later, and he's running around and doing, Clifton Duck things. He's amazing. But I have a new nickname for Clifton Duck that I
love
mentioned
it.
to Philip. And it's and of course now it just slips my mind up. The Deadpool thing, Deadpool Duck is
Yeah,
what is my nickname.
Deadpool Duck.
Yes, but the reason for it is because he's always maximum effort.
Yep.
Always. Every play until the whistle blows from beginning to end, Clifton Duck is maximum effort regardless of the score. You see him out there and he's just 100% maximum effort. And that's kind of one of the things from Deadpool. And so I was like, Deadpool Duck, that's my nickname for him moving forward.
Love it.
Now I'm going to say something on here that you guys are not going to like, and you people listening at home are not going to like. You're going to give me a hard time, but I'm being truthful. If by some miracle of math we get eliminated mathematically from playoff contention, I will not be surprised, and I will not be upset with players who drop back into third gear a little bit. Like I won't be upset with them. Like, this is your life, this is your livelihood, this is your body on the line, and there comes a point where you have to make best decisions for you. I would love, the fan side of me wants to go, yeah, you still go hard every game. It's a matter of pride.
Right.
But I'm also a realist, and I understand that there will be some guys who will still go all out, who have that kind of pride, and I respect those guys. But I also understand that there are guys that are like, look, I'm not blowing my knee out in a game that doesn't mean anything. I'm saving it. I'm going to play. I'm just going to play at 80% because I can't justify risking something when there's nothing to risk, or when there's nothing worth risking.
You know what, Philip? I don't think I have ever disagreed with you more on a statement on this show in the past, and we've had disagreements.
Yeah.
But when it comes to a player mentality, I 100% think that is no. You don't do that as a competitor, as a player. They say in football, when the guys playing not to get hurt are the ones that get hurt, and there's a lot of truth to that.
I think that's
true. If
true
you're playing
too.
not to get hurt,
Right.
That's the best way to get hurt on a football field. Now, so when it's a player doing that, I just don't see that. Don't want that. Don't want that in my guys. But if it's a coach's decision, that's something different. If it's a coach who says, I'm not going to play this guy as much, or I'm going to withhold him from this game completely so that he can feel, he can get his body right and have some time to recover, because I'm thinking long-term and I want this guy back on my roster next season. Now that I 100% agree with, coming from a coach and making that decision for the player. Yes. But for a player to say, I'm going to go out there and play and only give 60% or 70% or whatever, just play not to get hurt. No.
I agree with Leo. I don't think the quality and the players that we have would do that. Again, I'm not a football player. I'm not in pain. My knees aren't aching. But the mentality that I look at it as, think of the 6 shooters, right? They're still going to go out there and they're still going to do their best. They're still going to look professional. So I don't see how these athletes compared to these athletes would be any different.
Oh, that's not a good comparison. I'm sorry.
I think it is. I don't think the 6 shooters, again, they're not sacrificing their bodies like the football players. But my point is that they're still going to give it their all. And I see that in the players, and I see that with the 6 shooters. I don't see them now, like Leo said, if it's the coach's decision, maybe to turn in some other new players or give them some more playing time. I get that. Give them more experience. But I don't feel that any of our players will purposely not give their 110%.
Oh,
Every single game.
I hate to burst your bubble, but I guarantee you we have players on our roster that think the way that I am articulating right now, even if they would never say it out loud. I guarantee you, of the 21 guys, 25 guys we have on our roster, that there are some guys that will think that way. And I am not saying I personally think that's right or wrong. I'm saying I'm not going to I won't fault them for thinking that way. I get it. I understand where that mentality comes from. If there's something to risk for, yes. But if the difference, if going up over the wall and coming down on my head to get a catch means nothing in the long run, why open myself up to that? But if it means something, I get it.
But if it's going
to make a difference, I get it. But mathematically, when there is no other option.
But it means something. You're trying to keep your job. You're trying to show others, if some are viewing this as an opportunity to move up to a different league or a different level, you're putting film together. You're showing your effort. Coaches will look at tape or scouts will look at tape and see you taking plays off, and that's going to hurt your cause. There is still something to play for. They're still playing for their jobs. They're playing for their careers. They're playing for pride. They're playing because they're wearing that Gunslinger logo on their helmet and their jerseys, and they're fighting for their brothers. I'm sorry, Philip. I'll say it again. I don't think I have ever disagreed with you as much as I do on this point on anything we've discussed in this show. Not even the double L's.
Oh my God!
I disagree with you more on this than I do on the double L's.
It reminds me of that one player. I think it was the quarterback with the USFL that he was going to get called up for I think a practice with the NFL, and then that last game of the Brahmas, he was horrible. It was so obvious that he wasn't playing his best because he didn't want to get hurt, and I think at the end that hurt him the most.
Okay, but what you're talking about there, I think what you're referring to there is our quarterback from last year on the Brahmas who was playing in a championship game. There is still something on the line there. I don't agree with what that guy did, and I can't even think of his name right now, but I'm not trying very hard to remember what that dude's name was. What was that guy's name, Leo?
Jack Cohen.
No. Our quarterback last year.
No, last year.
With the Brahmas.
Loser. His name was Loser.
Yeah. But there was actually something to be gained there. But I'm gonna, and again, I am not arguing that should be their mentality. I am just saying I will not judge them harshly if it is. If I see 80% play from a guy in that situation, I get it. I get it. I don't have to like it or understand it, but I get it. I understand where they're coming from. Alex is right.
Have to disagree.
Alex is right. No, we don't have to disagree. There's nothing to disagree. I can say I have an opinion, and you guys can also have an opinion. It is what it is. Alex McSwain says, I think players like Duck will still do some wild stuff because he has too much pride. But yes, I think a few players will play on cruise control. And what I'm saying, Alex, is I won't judge them for that. Like, I get it. I understand what that mentality means. Like, I get it. I get it. And I told you before I even started, it was going to be an unpopular thing for you guys and that you guys weren't going to like it. I knew that that's the case. I think in a perfect world, you're right. You should give 110% no matter what the situation is. You should always go all out. That's what we're here for. And it should be about pride, and it should be about your teammates. And it should be like, yes, all of the things you're saying are right in a vacuum. It's just not the world we live in, and that's not where these guys are in this situation. And giving up a year or two on my playing career over an injury in a game that ultimately doesn't affect our final standing. I get guys that go, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
Chase Garbers.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
You had it right the first time, though. Alex McSwain says players who are playing hurt might go ahead and go on to IR. Again, I understand that decision.
Yeah, I mean,
I understand a guy that says, man, I've been dealing with something all season long, and now that the numbers are where they are, I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it.
But,
I get that.
But you're letting down the fans. You're letting down the fan base. You're letting down this organization that's trying to build something.
You're right.
And you got to show that you're all in on building something here in San Antonio and the San Antonio Gunslingers. I agree. I'm not disagreeing that there may be players that do that. I'm just saying you don't want those guys on your team.
Oh, see, I wouldn't. I wouldn't make a decision one way or the other about having them on my team based on that alone. That would be a factor that I would factor in with other things. But that alone, if I have a guy, let's take a guy that's just been all out all year long, but not somebody that necessarily we just praise and praise and praise. Take a guy like Austin Upshaw or Naquan Murray.
Mm-hmm.
Guys that are excellent. Guys you would absolutely have back on your team next year had you the opportunity. If those guys play at 80%, I'm not changing my mind about that. Because we're mathematically eliminated, I'm not changing my mind on those guys for next year. I get it. I understand. I understand why you made the decision you made. I don't even like it necessarily, but I understand it. And that's not going to change my mind about whether I'm going to have you back or not. Because when things are, huh?
I just say I don't believe that they would.
I don't think they would. I am just. I didn't want to say Kali Rashad because we all love Kali, and that taints that thought experiment in a special way. So I was just trying to pick a name or a couple of names of guys that we appreciate and go all out, but we would not. We could have this discussion about, and if that were the case, I know I want both of those guys back, and if they finish the season out when we're mathematically eliminated and I see that they're at 80 or 85%, I'm not gonna blame them. I'll still want them back. I'll still want them back here because when things are on the line, I know I can count on them. Yeah. And we don't have to agree, and I can already see the disgust on your face there, Leo, and I know that we're in a different that's fine.
If Coach Q is still with us, I don't know that he is. He hasn't commented in a minute, but I would love to hear the opinion on that from a coach.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Raul Nava says on the business side, which again, I think you're looking at this the wrong way, but on the business side, of course, you don't want players to only give 80% when they're expecting 100% of their check.
Yeah,
there's different viewpoints, and that's where the difference comes in. There's a viewpoint of the fans, there's a viewpoint of the players, the viewpoint of the financial aspect, viewpoint of the coaches. Would you think a coach wouldn't coach the same way just because there's mathematically not an opportunity for them to win? And I know the coach isn't putting his body on the line.
Right. Yeah, different. It's a bit of a straw man because it's a different argument entirely. You're talking about guys who are putting their body on the line. Do I want to risk losing all of next year with an Achilles injury in a game that will not change the outcome of our season one way or the other?
Well, you hate to see that, of course. I'm not saying that's not a worry or a possibility, but these guys are professional athletes for a reason. They have a competitive fire in them, and I just don't see that coming from these guys unless the fire isn't there. And if the fire isn't there because you've had a losing season, that says a lot about that player.
I don't think it says a lot. I think it says something. I don't think it says a lot about that player. I think it does say something. I'm not discounting the fact that that is something to add into the mix of your opinion of that player. I'm just saying it would not be everything to me, one way or the other. In any case, we can disagree, and that's okay. RC, on Friday, you got to hang out at Gunslinger Nation for the day.
I did.
You were hanging out for football camp. Tell us about football camp.
It was amazing. So they had 2 age groups, and so I went with the younger group. My godson was there, Noah, and about 19 other kids were there. And it was early in the morning from 7:30 to 9:30. I know every player that wasn't on the injured list that could possibly make it was there. I know all the coaches were there, and Megan was there. The training team, they were there. So that when we were talking earlier about her, I was like, kudos to her because she was there. Also, April was there. Jen was there. It was amazing. So first of all, we get there, and the kids already gravitate to the field. So they're already playing football. No one even told them. They just started playing football. The parents are trying to get up as close to the field, but we had to sit back, and we just got in our chairs. Thank God I brought my folding chair. And before everything started, they had a little get together in the middle of the field, and I believe they prayed, and that was really moving. Then they broke out into different drills. The first drill they had was to run around the track, and my Noah was first, so I'm bragging a little bit about that. And then they divided them up into some drills. They did one drill where they would hop like this to the field, to
like
the
how?
end zone, the ends, the what?
Like how?
They would step and then hop up with one knee, and then take a step and then hop up with one knee.
I thought you were actually demonstrating the hop.
I am with my fingers.
Oh, okay.
That's a hop. Isn't that a hop?
I see it now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sorry.
All of these drills were new to me. So I mean, but the main thing was the kids were having so much fun. The only people that I think had more fun were the players. They were just so happy. The parents were happy. And I'll tell you about 2 interviews that I showed live when I was there. So I was very ecstatic to see that there was a female who came to the practice and to the camp. And I went to talk to the dad, and the dad said, like, she loves football, like, can't help it. She just loves football. And the fact that she had enough self-esteem and not to be intimidated by all those 19 other boys, kudos to her, man. And kudos to that dad who brought her there, stayed there, cheered her on, because that takes a lot. That takes a lot. And her skill set was awesome. I could see it when she was running back, when she was catching the balls. So that was really exciting. I went live and I did a little interview with him. The second dad that I interviewed was someone who really touched me in the sense that you don't know what these games do for other people. So he's a veteran, and he says he got tickets from VetTix that made it possible for him to come to the games. But the main thing is that his mother-in-law had some medical issues and is in a wheelchair, and she is kind of stuck at home. And they've tried taking her to other sporting events, and because they don't have the ramps for the handicap, they make it very, very difficult for her to attend. And so he says that every game that he's been able to come to, he brings his mother-in-law, and she has such a blast because she's able to have easy access to the game. Again, no one even thinks about that, right? We think about the entertainment, we think about the players. No one thinks about the being able to not even attend these events. It's just a simple thing as having those ramps there so someone in a wheelchair can come. So he was so happy. And the first thing he said, he's like, yeah, he goes, my son's going to be a professional golfer. I'm like, okay, this is a football camp. He's like, I had to come to give back to the Gunslingers for everything they do for us as a family.
Right.
The vet techs, having the accessibility for the mother-in-law to come, and the boy had a good time. His son had a good time. So I think we really need to look at beyond the play, beyond the six shooters, how much this team and this organization has given back to the community. And that was only one age group that I got to see. Unfortunately, I didn't stay for the older boys. I should have, because I know Heidi said her great nephew went. If I would have known that, I would have stayed a little bit longer. But just to give you some comments from the Facebook page. So Michelle Morales, well, one of the parents that was there, she said, my son Colton asked me when we got in the truck if he could go back next year. He had a blast. Paul Ranker said, we had a blast. We want to thank you for having this camp. My son enjoyed the interaction with the players, and they seemed like they had as much fun as the kids did, which is absolutely true. Miss Kelly Cameron said, doing's God's work. Nothing like a summer football camp for the kids. Those babies will sleep well tonight. And they did. Noah fell asleep in the car. Cynthia Castro said, the San Antonio Gunslingers, y'all are amazing. My son had a smile on his face the whole time. It was just absolute wonderful. Thank you. Troy Tucker said, thank you again for allowing the kids the opportunity to learn from all and to meet the players and coaches. We had a blast. Keep inspiring. Key words there. It's not just a football team. They're role models. It's the professionalism that we see here, the giving back to the community. Samantha Whited said, my son had a blast and loved watching. Thank you, San Antonio Gunslingers, for making this a very memorable experience. So I can tell you and I can read the messages, but to be there and to feel that positive energy just radiating from the kids. I mean, they were all smiles, you know. Like I said, the kids had a good time. They were smiling. The coaches had a good time. The players had a good time. Everybody there, it's just a positive experience. So it was just a wonderful experience. And I'm looking forward to the six shooter camp this Saturday.
When I was 11 years old, I lived in a little town north of Dallas. And I remember a day when the Texas Rangers pitching coach came out to the Little League field near us. He didn't do any kind of camp. He didn't do any kind of, he was just there. And he signed some autographs. Like I can still vividly, this was a few years ago. I said when I was 11. So that was like 10 years ago or something like that.
Yeah. 10 years. You had those abs.
Right. That was not the, that was a few years ago. I can remember vividly that day. To this day, I can remember what that day looked like, felt like, smelled like. It is just a memory that even though there wasn't, like, I don't even remember the guy's name, but he was a real, actual Major League Baseball player and coach that was there and signing autographs and in our midst among us. And I'll remember that. As long as I have memories, I'll remember that. That's what happened on Saturday and what is happening this Saturday with these kids is they're creating those memories that so many of us have of those times where we encountered professional sports, players, guys for the first time, athletes. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. And I know Leo put up the comment from Math Bandit a few minutes ago about what he loves about this team is that they're always giving back in any way and every way possible. It's a great part of this organization. It's one of those things that we're very proud that we can be a part of. An interesting question came in while you were giving us that quick report about camp. You were talking about the young lady who came out and played because she loves football and she just wants to be around the game of football. Alex McSwain said, was her nickname Icebox? That is a Little Giants.
Little Giants.
There.
Wow. That's an awesome movie.
Icebox.
Okay. I don't know if that was her nickname. But like the one thing about going as like the guardian of Noah, and then also being part of the Smoking Guns podcast. I wanted to interview the kids, but because I don't have like the legal permission, I only was able to interview the parents.
Yeah. Yep. I
But
appreciate
kudos to her though.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I'm excited to hear about Six Shooters Camp this week. And I'm very excited that we were able to, through the amazing support of our patrons, we were able to help a couple of kids be out there on Saturday and a couple of other kids that are going to be out there this coming Saturday for Six Shooters Camp. Where is Six Shooters Camp at?
It's going to be at Northwest Vista.
Okay.
Over here off of 1604.
Right over here? Right over here off of 1604?
Right there. Yeah. And so Francesca's actually going to volunteer. I'm going to volunteer. So I'll be there with the Six Shooters. I'm going to be going for the younger group. And just as a side note, one of the parents told me that was there that if it wasn't for this Gunslinger camp, their son probably wouldn't have gone to any football camp this summer because there were like over $300. And this camp was $85. So thank you for being able to give back to the community in an affordable way. Again, we've said that numerous times. The Gunslingers game, very family friendly, affordable. It's great entertainment. And this is just one more aspect of that.
Yeah.
From top to bottom, this organization, from the very top, as in ownership, down, general manager James Stubing, the Stubings, everyone involved in this team, this organization, from top to bottom, cares about their fan base, cares about the community, cares about San Antonio, wants to represent San Antonio proudly, wants to make this city and their fans proud of them, and they really show it every single season.
Every single game.
Yeah, I'm going to talk out of my butt here for a second because I haven't done the research on this. But my bet is if we go back and look at San Antonio professional football, you're not going to see other organizations that have made it 5 years. I can't think of any off the top of my head. Mm-hmm. And we know, because when we started this, we did this research. We know that this is the only one of those ventures, professional football in San Antonio, that is homegrown, that is here in San Antonio. And that has made all the difference. I truly believe that makes the difference in all of this. James Palmer says the jersey and 4 tickets and food alone are worth the $85 that you were going to pay for it. And then you add the camp as well. That is a great point, James Palmer, because the value, which is what so many of us are looking for now, is just value. Am I getting the value for my dollar? I don't mind spending my money. It is the value that I'm getting. It is why I know as a pastor, it's almost illegal for me to say this. I don't like Chick-fil-A. I mean, I like it. It's good food. I like the chicken, but the value you get for the dollar you spend is not good. It is, dare I say, overpriced. It's good. I like it. It tastes good. But for what I pay, I don't get enough.
I agree.
That's every fast food at this point.
That's also true.
The value is important. And I think the value that you get, not just for football camp or six-shooter camp, but for San Antonio Gunslingers home games, for merchandise, just all the way around, the things that they are in control of. Now, you could say the concessions are way too high. Well, that's a different deal. They don't control that. They're not in necessarily control of those prices. But the things the Gunslingers are in control of, the value is there.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I'm excited for this weekend.
This is true, Alex McSwain. What he brings up here, the San Antonio Charros, also the Bulls, and the San Antonio Toros. They were here a few years. They were also here and existed for that long in a time when it was probably a lot easier to do so.
Right.
Just financially.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true.
Very true. And, you know, if that's the case, if those are both 5-year windows. And so, you know, I think this has got more than 5 years in it. I'm not.
Oh, for sure.
I'm not expecting anything other than a season 6 to happen. So,
Right.
you know,
But
go ahead.
we need to do better as a city. Well, the but is we need to do better as a city in supporting this team so that we can look past the 6th year and the 7th year and the 8th year, because it's not easy. And it costs a lot of money to do what this organization is doing, a lot of work. And we don't have enough butts in the seats, honestly.
Nope, I agree. And I don't know how to fix that. And I know that the Gunslingers organization is kind of shrugging, going, "What do we need to do?"
I know.
I mean, aside from win on the field, which is something I think we all recognize that would help. And it's not for lack of trying. But they just, we were 8-8 last year. We'll probably be no, we will definitely be less than that this year. Only 7-9 because we're going to win out. But we'll be less than that this year. So that is something tangible, verifiable, that we can say, well, this could be better and this would help. But it's not for lack of trying. So
no, definitely.
Well, I'm glad camp went well. Did you stay in a tent or a cabin? Because it was camp. So was it like a cabin or?
It's called football camp, sir. I didn't name it.
Yeah, it's camp. So, like.
There was no camping.
Where were you camping?
I was sitting in my chair. I got a little bit of sun. So it was good. And then Morgan took some excellent pictures. Oh my God, really captured the moment.
Yeah, she's got a great eye for those moments. She does a great job with her images. She's as good. We don't give her as much praise as we do Robert, but she's as good as Robert. Like, she's got the eye. She catches very good images of, anything. By the way, if you didn't know, anything you see the Gunslingers put out that are professional looking photography from the Gunslingers directly, it's usually Morgan, is my understanding, doing that. And so all of that stuff, promotional images, graphic design, I think she is very heavily involved on that side of things, along with Jordan. And then the images, game day images and images of things at camp, all those still photographs, that's Morgan. And so she is as good as Robert Seco. We've really lucked into some really incredible media folks in the Gunslingers organization, because I feel like we have the best ones in the league on both our video and our still photography side. And we don't give Morgan quite enough credit. We should do that more often.
Amazing.
Alex McSwain has an answer to your question and the Gunslingers question, Philip, where you said, we wonder what more can we do. Alex has the answer to that. And what they need to do is start a hockey team.
Yep. I have talked to Jordan about this before. I said, hey, it's only like 2 games a week instead of 1 game a week. And, why not? Let's do a hockey team too. And I don't think they're ready to jump in on that just yet. But I keep working on them. I love the sport, and I would love to have hockey to cover. I'm a big fan of that sport entirely. So, but yeah, he says Bay Area, Vegas, Jacksonville. By the way, the Vegas team used to be a San Antonio team, the minor league hockey team. That used to be our Rampage.
That's right.
Jacksonville, Fishers, Tulsa, also Tucson, all piggybacking with a hockey team in the same arena.
And those teams are all fairly strong in attendance.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Mass Bandit said UTSA has a hockey team. Just started the past year.
I did not know that.
News to me.
Yep, just got started. I remember that. That's very cool. Get it? Cool.
Got it.
because they play on ice. See, and ice is
Oh,
cold.
got it. Ice hockey.
Cool.
Cool.
You get it? Cool. It's cool.
Mhm.
We got it, Philip. We got it. I did not know that though.
Yeah. It started up last season. I remember I haven't seen any of it yet, but I remember it popping on. End of the season's going to be
would
fun.
know. He knows all the sports.
Yep. The end of the season's going to be fun, even if it's not. Depending on no matter what the situation is. 3 of the last 4 games are at home, and the one game that's not at home, we have to win. I don't care what the situation is. It's against Jacksonville, and we don't get to play Jacksonville every year. We have to take these opportunities when we have them and just absolutely ruin their day. It's still Coach Gibson. It's still the Sharks. It's been a couple of years, but it's the same people over there, and we absolutely have to take them down.
We do.
But that's for sure a win.
First, the sugar cookies, though.
Yeah, we have to take care of Tucson on July 5th. We have a bye week this week, and then we're back in the Freeman Coliseum.
Does everyone have their costume ready for a superhero night?
I do. I do.
You do? Okay. Well, you know how we have the thicker kicker?
Mm-hmm.
We may have a thicker Miss Marvel. Captain Marvel.
Okay.
That's just a little hint there. The costume's a little tighter than I thought.
Leo, any preview of what you're gonna do there?
Well,
or would you rather not say?
I went the opposite. Since RC mentioned it, I went the opposite of.
You went villain?
A thicker version of somebody, and I just leaned into the fatness, and I was like, okay, so where is? I'm talking about me, RC. Or by the way, I'm talking about me. I leaned into my fatness, and I said, okay, I've got to find a superhero that matches this awesome physique that I sport on a daily basis, and it's hard to maintain. You know, there's a lot of work that goes into this. You know, eating tacos and anyways. So I was like, well, it's right in the name, right? And if anybody saw Endgame, you remember one superhero in particular who put on a lot of pounds going into that movie, and there was a fat version of him, and that is my costume.
There we go.
And I put some work into this one actually, so it hopefully it's going to look pretty good.
I like it. I'm a fan. How many times, Leo? Now we get to devolve. We always do this. Devolve into some movie talk for a second. How many times have you seen Infinity War and Endgame?
Well,
okay,
4 times, 4 maybe 4.
I think they are both incredible. Both incredible. But I've only watched both of them once.
That's fine. That's fair.
I've never gone back for another viewing. I love them. I thought they were absolutely excellent. But I've just never gone back and caught them again. And I think the reason is the time commitment involved, which doesn't make any sense because I've seen Lord of the Rings, the extended edition, like 15 times all the way through. So that doesn't make sense as an argument. I understand that. But I think my brain goes, man, I don't really want to commit that much time. I like them. They're good, but I've seen them. And so I just don't want to commit all of that time. I think that's what my brain is doing.
Well, I'll tell you what works for me and what did it for me and made me go see it multiple times. How many times have
Scarlett Johansson? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, we're skipping over that.
Yeah. Well, that too, of course. But how many times have you seen Iron Man? The first one, Iron Man, the one that started it all.
3-4 times, maybe.
Me too.
And okay. And seeing the beginning of that character didn't make you want to go and see the end. That's what did it for me.
Okay. I get it.
That was so great seeing the beginning of that character and knowing how that character progresses and how it ends, because it's a fantastic ending. Bro,
Yes.
it's a fantastic beginning
Yes.
and a fantastic ending. And
Yes.
watching that, going back and watching Iron Man, which is one of my all-time favorite superhero movies, makes me want to go back and watch the other Endgame and Infinity Wars. Yeah, Infinity War and Endgame, I should say.
Yes, and it echoes perfectly the end, the last moment of Iron Man, I Am Iron Man, and the last real moment of Infinity War or of Endgame, even though there's more of a denouement afterwards. But the last true meaningful words of Endgame is "I am inevitable, I am Iron Man." Absolutely, and again, only seen it once.
Awesome,
absolutely incredible, and great in the way that we go. Speaking of superhero movies, again, we're devolving and we understand that, and that's okay. The reason this all makes sense and is okay for us to talk about is because on July 5th, it's superhero night. And so we are right in theme with superhero. We are watching through. My daughter is home from college.
Yay.
And we are watching through Batman. She told me when she got home from college a few weeks ago, a little over a month ago, she said, I want to watch through all the Batman movies this summer. So we've been working our way through them when we get a chance. Watching her try to watch the 66 Batman with Adam West.
Oh, wow.
And Burt Ward. Lots of fun. She just thought that was so dumb and so campy. Last night we watched Batman and Robin. Batman and Robin is worse than I remember it. It is so bad. It is so
know what
bad.
Good was. Back then we didn't know what it could be.
So bad. Like Schumacher's Batmans. He has two: Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. Batman Forever is also bad. But I like it. Like it's an enjoyable bad. It is a Demolition Man bad. Demolition Man is a bad movie.
Yes.
But it's fun to watch. Batman Forever is fun to watch. Jim Carrey, Tommy Lee Jones, for some reason, really works well in that. It's fun. Batman and Robin is just bad. It's not fun to watch. It's not interesting. The dialogue is written by a middle schooler. I swear the dialogue was written by somebody in 6th or 7th grade. Everything is the most obvious thing that someone would say. Every pun that Arnold Schwarzenegger utters is just stupid.
And Arnold is so bad in that movie. George Clooney is so bad in that movie. Even it hurts my heart to say Alicia Silverstone was bad in that movie, and I love Alicia Silverstone.
No, I'll tell you who is bad in that movie, and I don't understand it because she is such an excellent actress. Uma Thurman was bad in that movie, and she is so good. I like her in everything I see her in. I'm watching her last night, and I'm going, "This is awful. This is awful, 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 awful."
It's a crap script. It's
so
just
bad.
Really bad. Yeah.
So bad. Take 2 of these and call me in the morning. Like, I'm like, who wrote this? Did they have AI then? Because if they had AI wrote the script.
Oh.
The sets look bad. Clooney is bad. Clooney, I did not realize that Open Sesame. Yeah. I did not realize that Clooney apologizes to people and has even been known to refund people's money for Batman and Robin.
Really? I didn't know that.
That's funny.
That is incredible. It was bad. My only saving grace is that I know that the next one we get to watch together is Batman Begins, and that starts us on a really good set of movies.
Yes.
And that was my only saving grace, is like, I just have to power through this.
Hilarious.
And it was bad. Chris O'Donnell, bad. Alicia Silverstone. I feel bad for Alicia Silverstone, though. Did you know that she was the object of a lot of fat shaming?
Yeah.
During the production of this movie, because she got measured. And then when she went back to set to be in the movie, to actually do her scenes, her suit no longer fit. Her Yeah, her Batgirl suit did not fit anymore because she had gained a few pounds, and that got out in the media somehow.
Horrible.
And lots of people made fun of her, fat shamed her throughout the next couple of years over that.
Was Vivica Fox in that movie? In Batman and Robin?
Yes.
Yes, she was Freeze's assistant girl thing
Misbehaving.
that showed up like for 1 minute in there. Coolio shows up
Oh
in
my
this movie for
God.
a minute.
Oh.
Really bad, a really bad movie.
It
And
seems like
again-
they're just trying to throw in people.
And again, I did not like. I mean, I'm sorry. I do like Batman Forever a lot. I don't think it's a good movie, but I like it. This was awful. This was just awful. James Palmer says, I like the Tim Burtons. Yes. Although I've got my issues with Batman Returns and my most recent watch through of that. And then it wasn't good until Dark Knight. I would say Batman Begins is good. Not as good as Dark Knight will be. Dark Knight is maybe the best comic book movie that's ever been made. Leo, Dark Knight, or Iron Man?
Oh, that's the one I can never decide. I'm back and forth on.
You know what's crazy is they came out within months of each other.
Yes.
Like they were in theaters at the same time.
I always struggle and then land on Iron Man.
Me too.
Simply because no one expected anything from Iron Man.
That's true.
Robert Downey Jr. was literally at that point in his career a has-been that nobody cared about.
That's true.
And
you're not wrong.
And the performance of his life, and just you walked out of that movie blown away. And The Dark Knight, that was a follow-up to something that was already great, so you went in there with high expectations as it was.
Yeah, but no. Look, if you saw Batman Begins and you were like, hey, this is pretty good, it's certainly a lot better than the last couple of Batman movies 8 years ago, I'm okay with this. And then you get a sequel and you find out Heath Ledger's going to be in it, and you're like, okay, I'm here expectation-wise. It still wound up here. Like it was, you may be right. That may have had heightened expectation, but not that high. Dark Knight is incredible. It's just incredible as a film.
It is.
It's just incredible as a movie.
It's hard to decide between the two, but I always just kind of, Iron Man it's just a sweet spot in my heart because it was so unexpected, and it gave birth to this whole universe.
It did.
That we would not have had otherwise.
And it a lot of the tropes that became Marvel movies. Mm-hmm. One of the big things that Marvel does really well is grabbing guys that that are going to be one-off characters in a Marvel movie, usually the villain, but that you've forgotten about. And that started here in Iron Man with Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges is a guy that everybody knows, but nobody would call an A-list guy.
Mm-hmm.
And they grab Jeff Bridges, and then you see that when you're in the theater to watch some other movie in 2006, and you see the trailer for Iron Man, and you're like, what's Jeff Bridges doing in that? Why is his head shaved? And it's just enough to convince you, maybe I'll go give that a look. And they started that, and they've done that for years now. They've grabbed guys that you're like, oh, I know that person, but I never would have thought of them as like the villain, the lead villain guy. And they've done that, all the way around.
They definitely rebooted careers.
Rebooted or start off, yeah. Michael B. Jordan. Go.
James Palmer says no one expected Ledger to take the Joker to that level.
That's
100% agree. But I'll ask you this question.
Josh Brolin. Good answer.
Josh Brolin. How many movies of Heath Ledger's, your rest in peace, Joker, could you stand to watch before it started to get old or the character became less interesting? versus Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark and Iron Man. How many movies of each character do you think you could watch and still remain interested before it became old? I think Heath Ledger's Joker did one thing and did it really, really well, but the character of Tony Stark and Iron Man was so much more. There's so much more to that character that you could watch multiple movies, and we did. And you can't say, I don't think you could say the same thing about Heath Ledger's Joker. Not taking anything away from his performance. One of the best performances in cinematic history. But
I think you are fair. I think what you say is absolutely correct. However, I think what you have set up is unfair because the character of Iron Man has an arc, whereas the Joker, by definition,
that's true,
does not.
Right.
The Joker is just an agent of chaos. That is who he is. And there is no arc beyond that. And if you try to start putting an arc to the Joker,
you mess it up.
You're gonna really mess things up, because if you make him anything other than just an agent of chaos, he is no longer the Joker. That is not his character. So you're right, but I think you're right because there's just not a lot you can do with that character. Heath Ledger was spectacular.
Oh, he was.
And that doesn't take anything away from other people who have played the Joker absolutely incredibly. But Heath Ledger's Joker was, and what kills me is people were surprised. I didn't know Heath Ledger could act. Really? Because he got nominated a few years earlier, like 2 years earlier, for Brokeback Mountain, but all y'all were just, oh, it's a gay movie. And so that's all you were concentrating on. But he was really good in that one too. He could act. He just showed you in something that you went and watched instead of something you made fun of.
He was really good in what was the movie, the where he was a knight?
Knight's Tale. I didn't love it.
Knight's Tale. I thought he was good in that movie. The movie overall wasn't great, but I thought he was.
And I think that's my issue. I mean, 10 Things I Hate About You is a lot of fun, and he's a big reason why it's a lot of fun. So anyway, superhero movies are great, and Superhero Night is going to be even better, and that is coming up on July 5th in the Freeman Coliseum, 6 p.m. Make sure you have your tickets. If you don't have your tickets, really, James Palmer? James Palmer's seen Iron Man once, and that's all?
Oh, wow.
That's kind of surprising. Like, that's a surprise. It is a really good movie. I think it is unfortunate that Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3 do not come anywhere near it.
James Palmer has Batman bias. I mean, he's a big Batman fan.
I don't blame him. Like, Batman's great.
Yeah. But,
by the way, Batman and Iron Man are the same thing.
Exactly. That's my point. When you're biased towards one character over the other, and there's a big argument of Iron Man is just Marvel's version of Batman, which you could argue that.
Very much.
Then, if you have a bias towards one side or one universe, then you tend to dismiss the other side. That's just a thing. It is. Being a comic book geek, I know that that's a thing.
Rich guy whose superpower is being rich guy is Batman and Iron Man.
That's why upstairs Jerry has a DC room, and then we have a Marvel room, like a whole room dedicated to each. We can't have them mixed.
One day I want to grow up and be Jerry, just like Jerry.
Aw, let him know that. He actually said a comment earlier about Star Trek, and he's like, ask Leo. I bet he would know it. Something about chicken and something. I don't know. But he said you might know that. It was some Star Trek.
The Star Trek reference about chicken?
I might, but just going on chicken, I'm not sure I could identify it.
I was always amazed as a kid who collected comic books and was into comic books, not as crazy as some people are, but liked comic books, that DC had better quality superheroes and villains, but not as many of them. And Marvel had more, but they weren't as good. So Superman, Batman, all of the Batman's rogue gallery of villains, all of those things. But once you get past those couple of franchises, there's not much in the DC lineup that ever did anything for me. Flash, Green Lantern, all that stuff. I just didn't get into it. However, I found lots of stuff in Marvel that I liked, but never anything I liked as much. as Batman and Superman. And so when the movies now, have become a thing, it turns out that's the same thing. Like, I still like the Superman Batman stuff. I don't like anything beyond that, really. And even some of the, like Batman versus Superman was not good. Why did you say that name? But, I think it worked out the same way, where DC has a couple of really great things that happen in it, but Marvel has the better overall body of work. Just like their comic books, strangely enough.
I would agree.
Thank you,
Well, y'all
Stan.
are welcome to come visit the Marvel DC room whenever y'all want to.
Thank you, Stan Lee. Thank you, Jack Kirby. Those are awesome people that have given me many hours of entertainment. Get your bullspit and bullseye in. Do that right now, because we're going to move into that time and begin closing out this episode of San Antonio Football Talk, brought to you by DC and Marvel. Leo, what's your bullspit and bullseye for the week?
My bullspit is, for me, realistically, the end of our playoff hopes.
Not the end. I did the math.
That was my definitive bullspit up until you revealed that tiny crevice of light, which I said as we talked about the show, got just a tiny little bit bigger for me, but still realistically, that's my bullspit. That's to me, that's become the reality more than likely anyways. And then the bullseye, it's tough to, after a loss, but there were positives to take away from this game that I think we can look forward in the future. Mainly our rookies that we have at quarterback and our rookie that we have at kicker. I think they're both very, very promising young players that, if they stick around, the Gunslingers, decide to keep them around, which hopefully they do. I'm knocking on wood right now. I think they could be two of those guys, each of them, that has a long career in indoor football and ends up, making a name for themselves in this game. So
that would be great.
All right, RC, what's your bullspit bullseye?
My bullseye was being able to be part of the football camp / practice. This Friday, it was amazing to see all the youth, all the young players, the coaches, everybody getting involved and being part of the community. So bullspit, Sunday night games, I didn't like that.
If you have your own bullspit bullseye out there in Facebook land or YouTube land, make sure you get those in now. Which one do I want to do first? Bullspit. My bullspit is just almost kind of like yours, Leo. It is this this closing window that is closing very slowly and still has a little bit of light coming through, but ultimately seeing the season begin to wind down in the way that we're seeing it wind down, with a possibility, a likely possibility of not much to play for here at the end. I don't love that. It's an awkward place to be. It's a reason. The awkwardness of that situation is a reason for our conversation today that we had about players and what they do in those situations. Best case scenario is you're in it all the way up to the end, even if you don't get into the playoffs. Still having that ability to make it is nice, because it eliminates those questions. Mm-hmm. My bullseye is going to be a little weird, because if you'll notice, right up over my shoulder, in fact, you can see it right here. Nope, right here. I'll turn the wrong way. You see a picture, and you can't see it really well, but it is the 1992 Dallas Cowboys football team. It is the team picture. It is the first year that they won the Super Bowl in the 90s. And in the midst of that picture, you can't see him, because you can barely see that that's a team picture. There's a guy in that picture. His name is Del Hellestray. Dale Hellestray was the long snapper for the Dallas Cowboys in 1992, won a Super Bowl with the Dallas Cowboys. He's in this picture, hanging on my wall, has been in all of these shows that we do here in my office. And I recognized this week as I watched the San Diego game that the broadcast analyst for the San Diego Strike Force is Del Hellestray.
Mm.
And that's what I do. And so this guy that on some level was a hero to me when I was 12 and 13 years old, as I was watching the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, he's a long snapper. I'm not going to pretend it's like, oh, it's Troy Aikman. I mean, I get it. He's the long snapper, but he was part of this, and this was a big thing for me. And now he and I both do the same job for our teams in the IFL. That's cool. That's really kind of cool. That some guy that I have a picture of hanging on my wall, and I do the same job. I'm not going to sit here and go, I'm better than he is, or he's better than I am, because I think I bring things to the table he doesn't, and I know he brings things to the table I don't. But it's just cool that somewhere along the way, this guy and I are on the same level, even though he was a guy that I would have been that would have been a huge memory for me if I'd have run into him when I was 12 or 13 years old, like we were talking about earlier. And recognizing and realizing that this week, as I was watching the San Diego game, was a big deal for me. That I was just like, that's cool. Del Hellestray and I do the same thing in the same league. That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
That is cool.
So that's a big thing.
I know the phrase now, Leo. Jerry wanted to know if you would recognize this saying, burnt replicated bird meat.
I can't say that I do.
Okay.
No.
Well, that's what Jerry wanted me to ask you.
Alex McSwain says, Bullspit, another loss. Bullseye, good player turnout at the watch party. 5 players showed up at the watch party on Sunday night. Very cool. We knew that, like Leo and I knew that, because we have gotten to where we chat with Alex McSwain all the way through road games. Games that are on the road, we just have a little text chain, and we added Ralph to it this week, and we just kind of chat back and forth about the game. No, you can't see it. No, you can't read it. We unfiltered opinions in there that we're not particularly sure we want to share with everybody in the world.
Okay.
But Alex and Leo and I, and now Ralph, conversing throughout the game on road games, which we only have one more of. Maybe 2 if we make the playoff. We only have one more of. It is what it is. Look, we may not make the playoffs this year. The thing about sports is you have to be a fan of your team even when you're not going to make the playoffs. You can argue and have the conversation about whether players get to take some time off when things aren't going our way, but fans should always be fans.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You don't get to take time off as a fan. You don't get to be like, well, I'm not going to go to the game because it doesn't mean anything, because it's still going to be a spectacular time and a wonderful experience, whether we're 3-10 or we're, 10-3. It doesn't really matter, Alex says I should remember the fact next year when San Diego's back in town and then give him a shout out on our broadcast. Oh, believe me, that idea ran through my mind of like, I'm going to make sure he hears me next year say, hey, this is cool. I used to watch Del Hellestray when I was a kid, and now he's watching me. We are, James Palmer says, I'll support no matter what, but I will still have my opinions. Agreed. You are entitled to those. I am entitled to those. And what's great, another great thing about this organization is they have never, to my knowledge, to my memory, told me that I should keep my opinion under wraps.
That's true.
Oh.
That's
They
very true.
They have not always agreed with my opinion, and there have been times that I've gotten a phone call or a text about one of my opinions, but they have never said you shouldn't say that. And that's that. I appreciate that. I appreciate that they're willing to give the forum to us and allow us to be ourselves and be who we are. We are the Smoking Guns Podcast. We're brought to you by some incredible patrons that make things like football camp and six shooters camp possible for youth around our community. They also help us make the show go. Those folks are Alfred Rodriguez, James Palmer, Jessica Palmer, Jay Washington, Jordan Steubing, James Steubing, Kim and Greg Nelson, and Mo and Iris Ferrante. If you would like to be a part of that group and help us make the show go and help us send kids to football camp and six shooters camp when the next opportunity arises, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/smokinggunspod. That's smoking no G, guns with a Z, POD. And you can sign up to support the show at a $5, $10, or $20 level per month. And you will be a part of what makes this show and this organization really cool. Giving back to youth and to people in our community that need it. We are available on all of your social media outlets. We are most active on Facebook. You can find us at Smoking Guns Pod. That's Smoking No G, guns with a Z, POD. On social media, you can email the show if you need to. RC, did you know we have an email address?
I do now. I mean, I know. I forget.
I got a text message from RC this week that was like, what's the email address? It is
Smoking Guns. Where's RC? Wait, Smoking No G, guns with the Z. Where's RC?
Smoking Guns Pod at gmail.com. You can email the show if you need to. Alex McSwain says, opinions are like noses. Everyone has one, and you need to blow it out from time to time. Okay.
Yep.
Coolio. I don't disagree, and that's a lot nicer than some of the other opinions are like body parts things. Yeah.
Yeah.
We will enjoy a bye week, and then we will gather together in the Freeman Coliseum here in a couple of weeks for Superhero Night. Remember those Batman jerseys. Remember those Joker jerseys. Remember the Wonder Woman jerseys. Lots of great stuff. James Palmer says, how about no coin flip for RC at Smoking Guns Podcast?
That, really? Oh, my Lanta.
Don't email that yet until I can get that set up. When it comes to indoor professional football and the best experience that you can have in indoor professional football, it is not something you find over in San Diego.
Nope.
Or up in Bay Area.
Nope.
No.
Over in Tucson or Northern Arizona and Prescott Valley or down in Phoenix for the Arizona Rattlers. The best indoor football experience, when it comes to finding that, the 2-0 has got something to say.
Bang, bang.
All right, thank you so much. I saw that our numbers were a lot lower. I think that's because we're on a Tuesday night instead of a Monday night. And
that's okay.
Weren't sure, but that's okay. They can listen to it tomorrow. Make sure you listen tomorrow, or at least download it when it comes out. It will be out tomorrow. I know last week I didn't get it out until Thursday. It'll be out tomorrow, Wednesday, as soon as I get here in the office. And make sure you like, rate, and review, and take a you know what? I'm willing to allow you all to have the week off. You don't have to worry about Gunslinger.
No, watch me on Branded tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Watch RC on Branded tomorrow.
RC,
Should have mentioned that during the show. RC will be on Branded tomorrow with Ralph. Make sure you check in and spend some time with them and make fun of her for her inability to flip a coin. And
I'm never going to live that down, am I? You know, I made coins, right?
I heard.
Yeah.
Practice.
Practicing.
You know what they say about practice? Practice makes
a little bit better.
Yeah, better. Because nothing's perfect. Practice doesn't make perfect. But
Just
practice
a little
makes
bit, a
better.
little bit better.
You need to get a little bit better. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We're gonna go. Y'all have a great week. I give you the week off. You don't have to watch Gunslinger football this week, but you better be back at it on July 5th. We'll see you on next Monday night. Bye, y'all.
Wait.
Bye.